Welcome back, creators of the multiverse. I am Athena Amoeba, and today we are tuning into the power that creates worlds, the power that you can use to create your own universe. In this video, we're going to be talking about the 4 stages to the learning process and how acknowledging these stages can really be a game changer and helping you push past those times that you feel frustrated or just like giving up. Now, there's 4 stages to learning, and this is true for anything that you want to do. If you want to learn to ride a bike, you don't just hop on the bike and then ride a marathon perfectly. No, there's a whole process to learning how to do that correctly, and that goes for anything that you're trying to do, learn, or create. There's a process to becoming masterful in anything. Recognizing this process can be really helpful in times when you're feeling stuck, frustrated, or like you're tired of failing. Well, that's probably because you're at one of the levels of learning and just haven't acknowledged it yet. Knowing about these different levels of learning can help you figure out where you're at so you can see what you need to do to get to the next stage in your learning journey. So stage number 1 in the 4 stages of learning is eager beginner. Now, this is where you see something, you get really excited about doing something, and you're ready to go. And you're super eager to start, you're super eager to learn, you're really excited about getting it done. You've seen masters do it, and you want to be one of them. So in the example of riding a bike, which is my favorite, probably most basic example that you can use in going through the stages of learning, this would be like if you were a little kid or even an adult who doesn't know how to ride a bike, and you see someone riding a bike, you see them going by, maybe they look like an extreme sports cyclist and they're riding by super fast, super flawlessly, maybe riding down a busy street, and you say, hey, I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to ride a bike. So you get really excited, you get your bike together, and then you start the process to learn. You hop on the bike, try to go, and you fall. And that's where phase 2 comes in. That's right, phase 2 of the learning process is confused. And this is where most people give up. Most people don't make it past the second stage of learning something because they get trapped in the confusion and the frustration and then either just give up or stay stuck there. Now, this phase happens because, back to the example of riding a bike, you're super eager, you hopped on the bike, you thought you were just going to be able to pedal and ride it perfectly right away, but you fell. And you wobbled, and you didn't know how to keep your balance, and you were going through that phase for quite some time, and you didn't expect to face that, right? You thought you were just gonna hop on and ride flawlessly and be able to bike a marathon. But once you actually get into the phase of learning, it's actually not as simple as it seems, and there's a lot more that you have to take into consideration, a lot more steps, a lot of things that you have to pay attention to all at once, more so than you thought. And so this makes people very confused. So this is the phase where people get confused, this is the phase where people get frustrated, especially if they can't seem to get out of that wobbly stage where they're not sure what they're doing or how to do it correctly, and they give up. Now, there's only 2 things that can get us out of phase 2 of the learning process and into phase 3. One is practice. You just have to practice through it. You have to, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And then you'll get out of that really frustrating stage of not being able to do it as well as you would like. So practice is the first thing that can get you out of phase 2 and into phase 3. The other thing that can get you out of phase 2 is having a coach. Being guided, being coached by somebody who's done what you're trying to do. Why? Because they've been there and they know exactly what mistakes you're making. They'll be able to look at what you're doing and tell you what small changes or what small adjustments you can make to have the outcome that you want versus the outcome that you're getting. So having a coach is actually absolutely fundamental, and there's many different ways that you can be coached by somebody. You can actually have a physical in-person coach to guide you and teach you. So coaches are also known as teachers. Coaches are also known as tutors. Just anybody who is helping you learn something new. But there are other ways to have coaches as well. Reading watching videos or just learning through second-hand methods is also another way to be coached by people. If you don't know how to do something, you can learn through people even when they're not in the same room as you. So definitely, if you're trying to learn a skill, if you've been frustrated with something, look it up. Reach out to people who've been there, or look up resources created by people who are doing what it is that you want to do, what you want to get better at. And that will help you get out of this frustrated stage, because you don't have to do it all by yourself. You don't have to figure it out all on your own, especially if there's people out there who have done it. Then you absolutely should look to them for guidance to help you get out of that second stage of confusion in the 4 stages of learning. Now, putting in that practice and getting that coaching can take you to phase number 3 in the learning process, and that phase is conscious doer. Now, this is when you've actually learned how to do the thing that you're trying to accomplish. This is when you can actually ride your bike down the street, but you still have to think about it. You still have to focus on it. To make sure that you're not going to fall off or lose your balance. For another super simple example, when I was learning to drive a car, I started off as an eager beginner. I wanted to learn how to drive. It seemed really fun, it seemed exciting, it seemed like you could just have the freedom to go anywhere that you want. But then once I got in the car, I was mostly confused, terrified, and overwhelmed because there was so much to pay attention to all at the same time. You had to pay attention to your mirrors, you had to pay attention to your signals, you had to watch out for other cars in other lanes, pay attention to speed limit. There was just so much. It was a little bit overwhelming, and I was legitimately terrified. And like my first day that I ever drove, they took me out into the freeway, and I was so horrified. I thought that I was for sure gonna crash into another car. Because there was just all of this I wasn't expecting. I was confused, but I had, somebody right next to me guiding me through the process and helping me. And, with that guidance, I was able to get to a point where I still had to be conscious and think, about what was happening, or be more aware of my driving. Like, I couldn't be distracted even by music, let's say. So that was phase number 3. I knew how to do all the things, but I still had to be conscious of it. So that's phase number 3. And once you actually get a hang of it, then getting to phase 4 is actually very easy. And at that point, it's just a matter of practice. So going from phase 2 to phase 3 is actually learning how to do it correctly, or doing it in such a way that you're getting the outcome that you would like. From phase 3 to phase 4, it's really just all about practicing from there, so that you can go from a conscious doer, which is where you have to pay extra special attention to what you're doing, to an unconscious doer, which is where you can accomplish the task or the skill without having to think about it at all. Basically means you could perform the skill or task without giving it really much thought. It just feels like second nature, but you've put in all of this time and learning, and that's why it feels like second nature to you. And these are the 4 stages of learning. So I think for most of us, a lot of the times we really expect to go from eager beginner to unconscious doer. We expect to go from stage 1 to 4 very quickly without much in between, but the truth is stage 2 probably takes up the most amount of time. We're usually really confused, and that's why we just need to keep practicing, need to find coaches and resources that can help us push past that frustration and on to steps 3 and 4. And practicing anything can get you to that stage. So these have been the 4 stages of learning. I hope that this helps you achieve your goals and helps you move past the times when you feel frustrated. Until next time, much love.